Okay. So you can see my screen for the slide, right? Just to double check. Yes, no? Okay, yeah, good. Okay. Welcome everyone to a new session for Code with Sally. So we were covering in the past 2 weeks the conditional statements and how they are working. The last thing, we'll continue with that today. The last thing we covered last time was ternary operator, and we agreed that it would be nice if someone tried to do the same if and else statement we did for checking if a number is even or odd, to do it with the ternary. We'll skip that for now. We'll go for the new type of conditional statements we are covering today, and then we'll cover this at the end. Hopefully someone can present or share their solution if anyone did it. So the next conditional statements, and just a quick summary for anyone who's just joining us today. The conditional statements are very important because the idea behind them is to give you the flexibility to have a code more dynamic. Like if you want to have different scenarios, different conditions based on certain condition, show a message one, but if in different conditions, show another message, or do validation if someone enter a number greater than certain threshold, you give an error on the screen. So the conditions are usually like very useful, and they will be used a lot along the way. We covered before the if statement, and we built, like we draw here, a flow chart for each of them. And we did a simple single line if statement. We tried as well if and else statement, and we tried if, else, if, and else statements. And those are the flow charts that like represent the idea. And flow charts or pseudocode are other ways of presenting the code, either by graphical and shapes like we have here on the screen, or pseudocode that can be plain English, so you can put your ideas before start the implementation. The next thing we want to do now is to think how we can solve something like that. Like if I will get from the user like the day name, and we want to check what's the day and print different messages based on the day of the week. So first, let's start doing this with an if and else if statement, and we'll look into how we can make it more efficient or implement it in a different way. So I hope everyone have their like developer org or their playground ready, so they can try the code we'll do together now on their own, or after the class or during the class, and come with questions. I have here my developer org. I will go to the gear here, and I will open the developer console. Just another reminder, I hope everyone is working on having their IDE Visual Studio Code set up and ready, because soon we'll be switching to the Visual Studio Code instead of the developer console. Developer console is just a start way to write our code there and print simple statements and see how it works. For anyone who just joined as well, you go to debug and you open execute anonymous. So first of all, I want to mimic kind of this flow in my flow chart in my org using if and else statements. So we want to have something to store the day name in it, and that would be a variable. And a quick reminder for variables, the syntax for it, that we have to start with the data type. So here, because I want to store text, I started with the data type string. And I will say here, day name. And I put, for example, we are Thursday here. And I start my if and else statements. So the if statement we agreed, or if else if statements, we said the main component for it is the if statement. So I will start with an if and we'll open and close the brackets so you don't get confused. And we'll say here day name equal, and we'll start with Monday, and I will open and close the bracket. That means if this condition is evaluated to true, will code between the brackets will be executed. So here I will put a message. We want to print it for me now in the debug log, because that's what we are using in real life. Like you will be printing or showing a pop-up message to the user or printing something on screen, but because we have only backend now. So here it's the first day of the week, for example. So that means if I run now the code, would I get anything printed on screen or no? The answer should be no, because when this expression gets evaluated, we have the day here is Thursday, but it doesn't equal Monday. So nothing will be executed. And that's what will take us to writing other else if with another condition. And we have day name equal Tuesday, and we'll print here second day or something, second day of the week. And let's do another one if it Wednesday instead. Wednesday. And for example, get ready for the session. And we will do the same for Thursday. Thursday. So I will put here session day. And we have remaining here Friday. Tomorrow is the weekend. And lastly, we will put, for example, an else here that otherwise is the weekend, for example. So how it's working for anyone who's joining us today and didn't watch the previous sessions, what's happening is that I have the day name. We'll go and check the first expression. Is it Thursday? Is it Monday? So no. So the code between the brackets will be excluded or not executed. Then we'll check the next one, the next expression for the else if it's not Tuesday. So same, and it will keep running, checking one by order. Then it will come here and say like, is it Thursday? Then yes. So we'll print session day. Let's try it. So we'll check here open log and we'll run execute. And I'll check on debug only. And we see now that system.debug that got executed and the message was printed was the one corresponding to Thursday. So that's how we could implement like something like that, like a flowchart with a multiple condition on the same variable. We have another way to do this in Salesforce. And instead of having multiple else if statements like what we have here, like even I could have two extra. Let's do it quickly here. One for Saturday and one for Sunday. So that means I have 7 else if statements, and some of them I will have the same message repeated. And we said before, we don't like repetition. Like if you find yourself between the 2 brackets here and 2 brackets here, you have the same. That means something needs to be fixed, because repeating code, it's harder to maintain and it's not good practice. And that could be achieved by having combine the expressions together or use the else. But in general, the if and else statement we have here is not the best use case. or the best usage for them, we could do something else. And that's what we are covering today. So today we want to talk about another conditional statement called the switch. But before moving to that, anyone has a question about what we just covered? I think no, and no on the chat. Okay. So the switch statement is a very powerful statement that you can use, and it helps you in the conditions where you have multi-way branching. Here, that's the same, like we are branching multiple times and we have different if and else statements. We did here yes and no, checking to print different messages. And all of the checks we have, if you notice, is based on the day name. So it's all day name. Is the day name Monday or the day name is Tuesday? It's not like different conditions, like is it Monday and it's before 12 o'clock or Tuesday and it's evening? Like all of them is the same exact condition. The only difference, if you notice, is just the day name, like Monday, the value we are looking for. So the switch case is a different way to do that, and it's more powerful. And it helps you to have or to avoid the long list of if and else statements we just did now. And it works, it will work on, or it can be used when you have only a single expression, like you are using here day name. Like if I had another case here, for example, I take from the user their age, and I take, for example, string, month, the month they were born in, for example, it's June. And if I do here, if age less than 5, then system dot debug kid, and then else if age is less than greater than 5 and month equal January, system debug message true. And then I can have another one here, else if age greater than 12 and month equal June. So in such case, like we have multiple if and else statements, but we cannot use the switch case, because if you notice here I'm checking the age, here I'm checking the age and month. So it's not all the same expression. So in that case, we cannot use the switch to solve our problem. The switch will only work when you have always like one condition that you are checking for evaluating against multiple values. Like what we have here, we have the day name, we are checking against multiple values, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and so on. So if you find yourself, you have a long if and else statements, but not on a single value that you compared against different values, don't consider the switch. Maybe you can consider and see like if you can concatenate values together, or like concatenate different expressions together with the logical or logical and we checked last time, but it won't be the switch. The switch will always work only if you have a single value here. So let me just paste this in the chat so we have it with us, so you can compare about the different how we did it differently. In terms of the syntax will be that when we talked about the if statement, we had the if, and then we had between the brackets the expression, and then we had the code that will be executed between the brackets, like we have here. If it has to be there, and between the two brackets here, we have the expression, and between the curly bracket, we have the code that we want to run. So that's the syntax of the if or the else if, and so on. The switch, it's another way to write it, and you have to have the switch keyword on and then the expression, and then you check like when the value is certain value, and when this evaluated to true, between the two brackets here, the curly brackets, you will have the code that will be executed. And then again, you do the second check or the third check, and you can have an optional or default value. Let's try to switch this to a switch case so we can see the difference. So let me here comment this. And for anyone who's just joined as well, comments in general are very useful when you are writing code, because you will forget what you wrote. And when you share your code with someone else, or usually we are working in a team, so you have other people working with you on the project, they will refer to the comments you have as kind of documentation for your code. So it's easier for them to understand and follow and maintain the code. For comments here, if statements, you have two ways to do it. If you are commenting a single line, you do the backslash at the beginning. But if I want to comment a block of code like what we just did here, you do at the beginning \*, and at the end where you want to end your comment, *\. Let's try here to do the switch for the same. So we said, first, we'll start with the keyword switch. So we have here switch on, and then we'll have our expression. We want the expression. So the expression here that I'm checking, or the value that I am comparing or looking for different cases for it, is the day name. So I would have here switch on day name, and then I will open and close the curly bracket. That will contain here, between these two brackets of the switch, what are my options. And then here it tells me that for each scenario that I have, I will write when and the value that I'm checking. So let's try to do first when Thursday. So you can see it, and then we continue. So I will start with Thursday here. And then it tells me to give the curly brackets where to indicate where your code will be executed when this case is true. Like what we have here with the if and else statement, you always have a curly bracket to show what's the code that you are running when this condition is true. So the same with the when here, you will put here, and I will take here the same debug statement, and I put it here. So let's run it and see it, and then we'll continue, because usually it's not only one case. If it's one case, you will do an if statement. So I will run it here. And I can see that it printed the session day correctly. But as I said, like, you will never do in one case or in one when, because that's not the use case where you go and use a switch case. So let's put the others. So when here, put when Monday, and then you put the message we have here. So, and another when it's Tuesday, and I will take the message that we have when it's Tuesday. Sorry. So we have Monday, Tuesday, and then when it's Wednesday, you put the message that you have when it's Wednesday. Let's try to change the text here, the day name that we initialized. Here we declare the variable and we initialize it at the same time with the default value. So I changed the value here to Wednesday, and let's run it. Get ready for the session. And that's the debug statement we have in the when condition when it's Wednesday. So what happened, like how it's evaluated, like we have the day name, it will come here. The switch says like we have the switch on the day name. So kind of the the logic will be executed that way. Like we know that the day name is Wednesday, the computer will know that, and it will start checking like, is Wednesday the same as Monday? The answer is no, so all of that will be ignored. And then it will check the next case. Is Wednesday the same as Tuesday? No, so all of that will be ignored as well. Then it will go to the third and it will check the text we have, which is Wednesday. Is it the same as the case Wednesday? In that case, yes. And it will go and execute the text, the code within the curly brackets for this case. So in that case, this is the one that got executed. And it just exits. It doesn't check the rest. So it kind of behaves the same as the else if, because the same would happen here. We check if the day name is Monday. The answer is no. So the whole if statement here will be ignored. Then we'll check if it's Tuesday. The answer is no, so it will be ignored. Then it will go to Wednesday. So it behaved the same, just the syntax is a bit different. Another thing we saw before, for example, for the else if, we could do that. Like you could do if the day name is Saturday, and instead of having another else if here, we could have day name equal Sunday, and concatenate the two conditions here together to be in one. And the same, there is something we can do as well here for the switch to have different values. So let's see how we can do that. Let me add Friday so you can have it if you're playing with it first. So I would do the case for Friday, and I would go here and say tomorrow is the weekend. And here I would come, I can have when Saturday, and open and close the bracket. And I will print it's the weekend. And I could do another one like we had in the if statement, another one for the Sunday. But again, usually it's not a good practice because usually you would never have like a single line like that. Most probably it's a bigger logic, or you want to send an email, do something, do some calculations. So you don't want to repeat your code, and you want to simplify that when someone is reading, they know that it behaves the same for both. So having it that way and have the same code twice is not a good thing. With the switch case, we don't have the pipe symbol to mimic the or, but we have a different way to do it, which is like here, comma, and we do Sunday. So, and let's remove this. And let's change the default value we had here to be Sunday so we can try it. So that means here when it's Saturday or Sunday, do this execution. So the weekend was printed because we have Sunday as the value for the day name. So all of the above here got ignored, and this one evaluated to true, and the code between the curly brackets got executed with no issues. Any questions so far? Checking. Darren, yes?
Yeah, Sally, I have a question. So this is probably a bit back, but the time savings, the value of doing this is you don't have to write this else if day name equals over and over again. Is that the only value, or am I missing another reason?
The other one is easier to read because you know
Okay.
the condition you have as well, that it's all you are checking the day name, and it's easier to read that it's when Monday do that. Like, especially like when you have, now it may seem like not very useful because we have only some amount of code within developer console and we are focused on it, but it's It's easier to read and maintain when you have it that way in the code. But to be honest, like I still see some people do that. So I don't know in terms of performance if there is a difference or not. I can look into that. Dave, do you know like if both of them behave differently in terms of performance or something? You are on mute, right? No, we can't
Yeah,
hear.
I am. Sorry.
Okay.
Not working so well tonight. I don't think there's a difference in performance. Like you were saying, like else ifs, each if statement can be completely unrelated to the one prior to it. So it could be really spaghetti in terms of what you're looking at as you go through, whereas the switch is almost all related to the expression on the switch on expression at the top. Does that make sense? So
Yeah,
the
thanks.
So the example that I had in remove before, like the one that we had, like the age and checking the day name together or month, that's what you mean, right, Dave? Like when you have multiple conditions or different ones, you cannot be using the switch because you can have in the if something, but in the else, like in the if I check the salary is greater than 1,000, but then in the else if I check or your name start with an A and another else
right.
if that your age is above 50. So I would check your salary first. If it doesn't match, I would go to the second one that I check your name, and then the third one, if both are wrong, I will go and check your age. So the if else will give you the benefit when you have such scenarios, because such scenarios you cannot do it with the switch. The switch is only useful when you have a single expression like what we have here, that all these statements are checking just the day name against different values. Is it Monday, Tuesday? Like we don't have complex logic or you don't have mixed conditions. So that's the main difference. Or in my opinion, the like usability of if else will be in that case. The switch will be cleaner when you have the case we have here, that it's single value and you are testing it against different values. So it that better explanation or clearer?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Then my
And
other
So if you
question
have the,
is,
yeah, sure.
go ahead.
I stepped on you.
No, you're going first. You finish.
Oh, no, I was getting column errors when I run my code. So if I'm troubleshooting those, what's the most likely culprits?
What's the error, or like, do you want to share your code in the chat and I put it and we see what's
Yeah,
the,
I'll try it. I only have one of your switch statements though.
and let me put this in the chat for you as well, so you can have it.
Nope, I just deleted my developer console, so we'll have to do that another day.
Okay. If you try it and you have still an issue, message me offline and I will try it and let you know exactly what's the issue. Julia, I guess you were the one asking another question, right?
So in the same token, if you were to flip it around, you have a long set of criteria, like we want to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is the week. We could add all that into one string,
Yeah. You mean,
separate it by comma, and then
um,
Saturday, Sunday is the weekend or something like that. We could do that, right?
so we can do
We
it,
can just keep adding.
yeah,
Yeah.
so Monday, or that means if it's Monday or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Oops, sorry. And Friday. And in that case, we'll remove all the other when statements. And we can say here it's weekday. And put this here. And let's try here Tuesday, for example. So in that case, what will happen is that it will come and say, like, is the day name one of those values? Is it Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, Thursday or Friday? It will print that. Otherwise, it will go check if it's Saturday or Sunday. So let's execute this. It's a weekday. So it took the value we have and it checked it against the statement we have. So the comma separation between the values is possible, and it's a good way to mimic what we have with the if statement for the or. So here we are just adding multiple values, comma separated to check it for. We have another thing as well that we didn't try in the switch, which is the else. Like here, we could have system dot debug invalid day name, for example. So that means if it's none of those, we want to give the user an invalid day name. Here, if I try invalid value, for example, and run, let's see what will happen. Nothing was printed because what the switch did is that it checked the day name. Is it one of those values? The answer is no. So the code between the brackets here got ignored. Then is the value we have for the day name any of these two values? The answer is no. So as well, the code here we have between the brackets got ignored. And then it exit the switch and nothing got printed. And that's take us to the last bit of it, which is here. We have when else, and the when else is where we'll put any fallback, like the default block. If nothing got matched, we can give an error or print something or do a specific logic we want to do. So we will have here when else, and I print here invalid day name. Let's try it. And I will show the debug only. And I see here invalid day name. So that's how you can mimic the last bit of the if else statements when you want to have a fallback or a default to go to and execute if none of the conditions got evaluated to true. Do we have to have this? No, and it was running perfectly fine without having it initially. It's just a good thing because in general, like sometimes people don't do the else statements in their code, but I feel sometimes it's a good thing sometimes because you want to catch anything that didn't match any of your criteria. So if nothing got matched, you show an error or you send an email or you log an error in your case. But again, it depends on the situation if you need it or not. So let me put those for you as well. So we can, because we added the else. So that's how you can do multiple cases for using an or, and how you can have an else for the default execution as well, or the fallback. Different things, like if you go to the blog, you will have it here explained as well. But we cannot have, for example, on the expression here, I cannot have a date. Like there is specific values or specific data type that can be evaluated with the switch. Those are integer, long, data type. We have string. There is those we didn't cover yet, but there is enumerator, and there is as objects. For now, know that you can do integer, long, string as a primitive data type in the expression. The enumerator and as object, just know that exist, but it's something we'll cover later on. And I have a blog already about the enumerator. If someone wants to check the blog here and navigate to enumerator, you learn more about it. But for now, just know that it's integer, long, string, like date or date time. We can't, like, it has to be these values. The other note I wanted to share with you as well, that this is optional. You don't have to have it. And when you have it, it has to be the last block in the switch statement. Like, I cannot move it from here and put it at the beginning. Let's try and see what's the error that we'll get. When else must be the last one block. So if even you try to put it before other blocks, as we did here, you will get an error. It's not allowed. It has to be the last block, because the code, or how the code will be evaluated, is line by line. So that means all of those will never be evaluated if you put it first. So Salesforce, to avoid anyone to get confused or to do it wrong, it will give you an error if you don't have it the last one. Okay. So those are the main ideas. Let's see more examples. So here we tried an example where this was a string. So let me remove that. And let me try another one where we have an integer. I will grab the code to save some time. And okay. Here, what we want to do, or we are trying to do, is that the user will enter number from 1 to 7, and I want to print to the user, like, what's the day name corresponding to this number. So, because what I'm saying that the user will enter for me a day number, so that's why here we initialized a variable of type integer. Here, that's the name, equal 3, and that means I'm not just declaring the variable, I'm initializing the variable with the 3. And then I have here the day name as string variable, and I started to do the switch statement here. The switch statement, it's the same logic how we do it. First of all, to be easier, first of all, we start by doing switch on. Those are the keywords we have to have. And then the variable that I'm evaluating, here it's the day number. And then I will start doing my when statements. So here, when 1, and then I assign to another variable that the day name in that case is Sunday, and so on until we finish. And the else is just to catch if the user entered 11 or so. So let's print here the value and evaluate it. What's the result? So here it gave me that the day name is Tuesday, and that's because here I entered the default value to be 3, and it got evaluated here that the day name equal Tuesday. It matched this case. So it's the same logic or same syntax we did. The only difference is that the day number is not a string, and that the values we have here are not strings. And if you remember, when they were string, I was doing when and then Sunday between single quotes. And I do single quotes in that case because it's a string, and strings in Salesforce or Apex, we do it between single quotes. So that's why the condition here was between single quotes. But because here I'm just evaluating integer, there is no need for a single quote. Any question about that example? I don't see hands up, and I don't see questions on the chat. Okay, so that's another example to see how you can have a different data type, one of the ones allowed, like the integer. Let's go to the slide. This is an example. We covered the same. We have a string. We want to fill a message with the value, and we have here, that's an example how you can have it as an if and else statements, and then we'll see it done with the switch. I put you the image here, but it's the same. If we are checking with equal, and we have multiple else if and the default else. And here, that's the same, but with a switch statement instead. So again, it's the same logic as what we covered. You do the switch on, this is the keyword you have, and day of week, and then you do multiple whens for different values, and the when else is the default. So it's just a comparison side by side, what's the difference? But at the end, like, this will look cleaner when you have a single value that keeps repeating and we are checking. This would be useful when you have complex or different scenarios and it's not always checking the day of the week. Any questions? Okay, so I don't think there is a question in the chat. Okay, so last week we did the ternary operator. Let me put the example we had. So this is the example we had, and we checked how we can do it with an if and else, because this is only two flows, like, and there is no more condition. It's single condition where we check the mod. So we did that here. Let me put it for you. We did it with an if and else statement here last time. And the ask was if someone can do it with a ternary operator. Let me as well put here an integer. This is the number value, and the number that will take it from the user, and we are checking if else statement. And let me execute it. I have an 8, so I should see even. The number 8 is even. So it got printed, no issues. And that's something we did together in the session last night. So any volunteer to do it instead of if else, to have it in ternary format? Any volunteers? Someone is on mute. Danny, I guess.
So, Sally, can you explain me again what is the goal?
The goal is we wanted to, the first couple of sessions we showed before this flow chart, just to explain how the code is working, and we refer to the same flow chart when we spoke about the conditional statements and explained the if and else. And we tried last time to do this flow chart in if else statement. And what we are trying to do is, like, we want to mimic that we are getting a number from a user and we are checking if it's even or odd. To check it's even or odd, we do mod 2 for the number, and we check if it's 0, then it's an even number, otherwise it's an odd number. So last time, that's what we did here, that we initialized the variable, we took it from the user, then we did the mod number here, the math.mod. This is a Salesforce function for the math class. It takes the number and the mod value you want to check, and we are checking if it's 0. If it's 0, we want to print to the user it's even, and if otherwise, we are printing it odd. So, and if we remember, the ternary operator is just a shorthand or a short format for the if and else statement. The syntax for it is usually expression that we want to check if it's true or not, and then question mark, and then we put here true value, true if it's true, what's the value in that case that we want to return, otherwise the false value. So that's the syntax for it, and it's a shorter way to do an if and else. Anyone want to give it a try and see how we can do it? Like, if I want to have here string to store the message in it. Message. The message that we will be printing, for example, even or odd. Like I want to have a message to store here, even or odd, based on the number. Anyone can give it a go? Then you are still on, not muted. So do you want to try?
I'm sorry. I'm thinking like, how will I do it? Just 1 second.
If you want me to go ahead and do it and explain it, it's fine. If you want to try, let me know.
Yeah, go ahead and do it that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for the ternary, like I prefer to have a bracket here to have the whole like syntax in it. So the expression for me, what's the expression? The expression for us is we want to check that the mod for the number is 0 or not. This is the expression that we are checking even for the if. So I put the expression, okay? And then I have it between brackets so I can separate it and see it. Then I would put a question mark. If it's true, what do I want to return? Do I want to return even or odd? In that case, if it's true, it would be even. So I would return, I put in the message even. If it's, then I put colon, and I put the false value. So the false value I want to return in that case, odd, and semicolon. So now I have even or odd based on the value, and then I can print it. So I can do that. System, I can do that. Can take even the same message here, but instead of saying it's odd or even hard-coded, I just concatenate the string we got. So I will concatenate here the message, or we can, so we don't confuse, like number type. So it's the number type. So that's how we can do it. Let's print it and see. Execute. When I will execute here, I would say the number 8 is even. The other one with the ternary gave me the same. The number 8 is even. So it's just the same. We can do the same between if and else using the ternary operator. So that was the ask, like that we wanted to change the structure or like use what we did in the session last time using if and else and show it in terms of ternary, how we can do it. So again, the ternary is between brackets. The brackets are optional, by the way. It's me. I do it more like when I remove it now, I feel like I'm lost. It's not easy for me to read. So that's why I put the bracket between the expression. And the expression is the same that we have here or here. It's the same. And then question mark. If it's true, the expression is true, I want to return even. Other else, which is the colon, I want to return odd in that case. And then I printed the same debug statement using the number type I calculated using the ternary operator. Any question about how it's working? And that would be a quick revision on how the ternary is working. Any questions? I think no questions on the chat. Okay, so let's go back. That concludes what we have to cover about the conditional statements. I want you to give it a go. Let me put this up here so if it comes to the video, it doesn't block. So I put you the control exercise. I will paste it here in the chat. Those are some sort of exercise suggestions because it's easier for you to know if you know how to do it or not, only when you try to do it yourself. So give it a go and try to work with them. I think next time, if you have questions, I will answer it, or during the week, if you have questions on how to solve it, send it to me. Or if you got it done and you want to verify if what you did was right or wrong, send it to me as well. Next time, what I would do, because we took our time covering the if statements, else, the ternary, and the switch, I will provide the answers, but next time we'll move on to the next topic. So the next topic will be understanding loops and what are the types of loops and how to use them in Apex. So because they are useful as well. Loops will be repetition, something that we want to repeat it or we want to go on different things in order. So it's very important to understand it more, and that's what we'll start talking about next time, unless you have questions. But feel free to give it a go for those, and send me your answers if you want me to verify it, and I will provide the right answers for it, or there is no right and wrong 100%, like my answers and how I would do it next time with you in the chat, so you can compare it with your answers, and if you have questions, you let me know as well. Any questions for now related to what we covered? Yeah.
Can you drop the code for the ternary in the chat?
Okay, yeah, sorry. I put those two together so you can see the difference between how it was done with this if else and the ternary operator. Any other questions? Feel free to drop, like I covered what I want to cover for this session, and let me stop recording as well. So if someone wants to ask further questions, they can. And thank you so much for joining me, and looking forward to have you next session as well.